Okay, for lecture 2 for ExcelC, we're going to talk about column width. We're going to talk about inserting and deleting rows and columns. Now, as far as column width goes, we discussed this a little bit in the Excel A lectures, I do believe, where we talked about the little line with the double arrows on each side. The default column width is set at 8.43 characters wide. It's a little less than 1 inch, and one or more columns can be adjusted using the ribbon, shortcut menu, or the mouse. There's a variety of different ways to adjust the width of the columns. So column width, you set it with a specific number of characters. You can auto fit, have the column width expand according to the width of the widest entry in the column. You can hide and unhide columns if there's data in those columns you don't want the user to see, or you want to move it so it's not in your view if you're not going to be actually using the data directly. And you can give it each column a default width too, if you have a certain default width that you want your column to have. So when you're preparing to change the column width, you're going to have a screen that looks a lot like this. You've got the resize pointer that shows at the top here, which is that double arrowed single line like I was talking about. And then you have the format button up here if you want to change your format. So let's go into an Excel spreadsheet directly and we'll work on it together. I'll show you this. Now here's that double line. Let me click off here so we're off. We'll select a column. You can see here we've got the line with the double arrow on it right there, and then also the format button that it showed on the page 859 in your textbook. If you click on format, that's where you can adjust your row height, your column height, or your column width. You can do the auto fits there. You can hide and unhide your columns. You can rename your worksheet. You can protect sheet, lock a cell, or format cells. So this format button is really a do-all button for finding everything that you need to do as far as formatting. Let me move this over so you can see what I'm talking about. Heavens. This format button pretty much covers all the tools that you may need to make changes in your column widths or your row heights. Now, if you want to insert or delete columns, it's real easy to do. When you insert a new column, the column will ask you if you want it to shift to the right or shift to the left. It'll ask you exactly where you want it put in. So let's pull this spreadsheet up. We're going to select column D, and we're going to insert a column to the left of column D, which turns column D into column E. And then insert options. We have the options to format the same as the right or the left, or to clear formatting. So in other words, if we started entering in data here, it's going to be formatted with this font, this character format, or I should say numerical format, where it's going to have a dot, a decimal point, and 2 digits past the 0. So if we put in 9.3 or 9.3, it's going to make it 930, or if we put in 7, it'll make it 7.00. So that shows you that it's not only copying the font, the size, and the italics, it's also copying the format of the cells itself. Let me minimize this down. So Excel inserts rows above the cell pointer into the columns to the left. You can insert multiple rows by selecting the same number of rows or columns that you want to insert. In other words, if you want to insert, let's get back to the workbook here. Let's slide it over a little bit. Say we want to put in 3 rows. If you select 3 rows and then go insert, it inserts 3 rows above the 3 rows you had highlighted. So if however many rows you select, it will insert that number many of rows. Same thing with columns. We can go to the top here. We can select, let's select 4 columns. We'll go insert, and it inserted 4 more columns. And remember that because of this format painter choice that we have here, we can either have the cells formatted the same as the left-hand side, the right-hand side from that blank cell, or clear the formatting out of that group. If we set to clear the formatting, like we showed over here with the 9 and the 7, if I type in here and type 7 and hit enter, it doesn't do the decimal point or the 2 digits past the decimal point. It doesn't have the Gil Sans MT font. It's goes back to default Calibre size 11. Does not do the italics, and it doesn't do the change in the font as far as the alignment goes. So the thing is that Format Painter, when you select and insert those rows, can really help you out, help you make sure whether you want to have the inserted cells remain the same as what you had just changed, or if you want them to be different, and that's your call. That depends upon what you want to insert. So when you're inserting and deleting rows, you have this option also that usually comes up, that you can insert to the right, to the left, or down. Let's go back here. Get the cell open, and let's go with this cell right here. We're going to pick this cell. We're going to say insert. And when we pick a specific cell, it's going to ask us if we want to shift just the cell to the right or down, or if we want to shift the entire row or the entire column. And that depends upon what you're going to insert in there, whether you want to have the whole column or the whole row shift, or if you want to have it just insert that one cell. And that's the individual user. This is the screen that'll come up when you want to do that. Okay, insert and delete rows and columns. When you delete a row, the contents of the worksheet shift up. When you delete a column, the contents shift to the left. If you delete multiple rows or columns by selecting all those rows and then right-click and select delete, you're able to delete that. So let's go back to our workbook. You can see these are the 3 rows that we inserted. Let's highlight those. Let's select delete, and you'll see that they disappear. And we'll do the same thing for the columns we added. Right-click, delete, and it'll remove that. Okay? And another thing that we're not talking about directly, but we do want to talk about a little bit, is if you want to clear a column, if you have a series of values in a column, you may need to clear that column. You can actually select the column and click on Clear Contents, and it'll remove everything that's in that column. It'll still remain formatted the way it is, so if you add new entries in, 655, you'll see that it adds in the format. It's the Gill Sans MT font, it's 11 size, it's italicized, and it's set up in the currency format, or the number format, with a dot and 2 decimal point, or two digits past the decimal point. So you see that the formatting stayed the same even though we cleared the contents. The contents still hold the formatting. So that's it for this lecture. We'll move on to ExcelC Lecture 3 in a few minutes.